Hello, adventurer. It's good to see you. You have made it to the morning grind.
Welcome, welcome.
It's the live stream at the beginning of the Geekverse, where we talk about all types of topics in geekdom, gaming, and fantasy, with an emphasis on being constructive and creating the things that we want to exist in the world.
It's all on the grind, Sizemore. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
That's exactly right. There are a lot of adventures to be had today. Dungeons to explore and monsters to slay, and who knows what a random encounter might send our way. That's why we have to prepare, so settle in now for the morning grind with your favorite beverage in hand.
Tea? Or maybe something a little stronger. I've got a few bottles of the old Wynyard left.
Whatever you want. Pull up a chair.
Dude.
If you're feeling fancy, how about a cappuccino? Or a frappuccino? Or how about an espresso?
Just tea, thank you.
Sounds good to me, Gandalf. Whatever you want. I'm just glad you're here.
Everyone is welcome. You can just watch if you want. You don't have to worship anything you don't want to worship.
Thank you, Mike. But be forewarned.
Sometimes we get really strange characters around here.
Wait, what's that you say? Why can't you come and be a part of the stream?
My wife would disown me.
Oh no, I bet she'll be fine with it. Come on in.
Am I scared for my safety? No.
What are we supposed to do?
Everybody do the secret handshake.
Secret cultist handshake.
Oh, now do wizards who love each other.
This, my friend, is a science.
I still don't have gifts, but it's fine.
It's all on the grind, son. Can't be too fine, can't be too coarse.
Dude, this would be a sick place to bring the band.
Indeed it would be, Dave. It really would. I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Oh, look, here's someone new.
Is this the cultist meetup?
Yes it is.
Come to hang out? Please accept me. I have nothing else.
Okay, we accept you. Everyone's welcome here.
Brought some snacks.
Well, that makes things even better.
You want some coffee? I don't drink coffee. You sure?
It's cultist coffee.
What makes it cultist coffee?
I'm a cultist and I'm drinking it.
Oh. Then I'll have some.
What exactly is going on here?
I'm seeing more people coming in. Welcome. It's so great to have you. Oh, and look, here comes another stranger.
Can we help you?
Yes, fellow cultists. I could really use some food.
Oh yeah? Welcome. We have donuts.
Oh, it's me. I'm glad I'm here. I'm sure you have a few questions for me, though.
What's your name? Who do you work for? What god do you worship?
Great questions, Rob.
I'm Steve King, and I worship Nyarlathotep.
No, not really. I'm just Heath, and I won't be worshiping anything this morning. But I will be your host. Welcome to the office. We're going to have a great time. I've got my coffee ready, because now it's time for the morning grind.
If you could become a fish, that would be amazing. Then I could command you with my mental fish powers.
Good morning, everyone. Hey, I am audio only again today. I'm sorry about that, but we're going to go with audio only today. We're going to be taking a look at GURPS action exploits today. You know, I realized actually this morning as I was looking here that there was actually several others in this series. I didn't realize that there were so many GURPS action books. I don't think we need to look at all of them, but there are actually a lot in this series if you're interested in it. So it sounds like it must be another. I don't think I don't think it is as extensive a series as was GURPS Fantasy, and I don't believe there's a GURPS action box. I don't think it went that far, but it seems like there is a lot in this genre here. In the GURPS genre action to look at if this has been something that you've been enjoying. So we're going to take a look at action exploits. And actually, I think this is what I thought I was going to be looking at yesterday when I was thinking about, I mean, it's good to go ahead and take a look at the characters first. But I thought that this would be, I wanted to look at how to run an action game because I wanted to take a look at what kind of structure does it recommend? Is there some way to do an action game structure like 10 Candles did with horror? I don't think this is exactly what GURPS is going to give us here, but as far as how to run an action game, I believe this series is one of the most most developed in the RPG world. So we will see. Good morning. Who all is here? Zero the Blade is here. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, James and Robert. Good morning. BGD is here as well. And Sable Phoenix. Good morning. Yes, we do have the watch party today. You can also watch it on replay. So let me put the link out here. I went ahead and brought this up since I'm audio only at the moment. But this afternoon, there will be the Cultist Season 2 live watch party. I will put a reminder about 15 minutes before this starts in the Ravenkeep Discord server. So the Ravenkeep Discord link just went here if you were just finding us. But the Cultist, if you're not aware, is my comedy web show about a group of modern-day Lovecraftian cultists who just want to worship Cthulhu in a world full of people who don't understand. And I created it, I produced it, I co-wrote it, and in this series, I actually play one of the characters as well. I play Steve. So the link here, RM is hosting a watch party. It's only an hour long. Season 2 is only an hour long. And unlike most other watch parties you see on YouTube, where you have to watch the movie or TV show yourself and get it started on a different screen because YouTube won't let you watch show the film on screen because of copyright reasons, I own the Cultists, and so I just sent RM the entire show, so we'll be able to watch it actually together live on screen, which is nice. Which I actually think that a lot of other people who do live watch parties, I reached out to other people who do watch parties. Let me go ahead and put this link here. Cultist Season 2 watch party. But I reached out to other people on YouTube for that reasons. But we have... oh, no, excuse me. The Cultist Season 2 watch party. I reached out to other people who do watch parties on different YouTube channels because I said, hey, you'll actually be able to watch this one on the show, live on the show. And you would think that would be something that people would enjoy doing. And I don't see that very often, even with generally other independent creators. Maybe that's because they're independent creators, and that's that's a whole nother issue. But if other web shows, other things like this, we should be able to, I would think that would be something people would do because people like the watch parties on YouTube. And this was very fun. Season 1 was very fun. And Season 1's here on my YouTube channel if you haven't seen it. But Season 2, we'll be having a live watch party, and it'll be a lot of fun, and I hope you can join us. Please click that link. It'll be in 7 hours. It's 5 o'clock p.m. Central today. All right, let me go over here and get exploits. GURPS action exploits up and ready for us. Because I do think that the watch parties are more fun when you can actually watch the show with everybody live on the stream. I think that's better. All right, GURPS 2. GURPS Action 2 exploits. So this one should center on the game mastering, whereas the other one centered on getting the characters ready, which I think was pretty good. I liked the way that it approached adventuring, the types of adventurers in an action movie. And of course, it did have a bunch. We looked at a bunch of templates, which are basically like its classes. So it did a great job about getting down to what actually you just need in GURPS for action. How do you make a character? What's important? What's relevant? What's not? Because so these genre kinds of books are very good at that. So what's in here? So introduction, we'll take a look at what this book is trying to do. Challenges, not headaches. Basic abstract difficulty. We want to take a look at that. Complementary skills, teamworks, the basics, getting the ball rolling. Squad, I believe that's standard operating procedure right here. Tricks of the trade, gathering intelligence, social engineering, planning, getting in, grabbing the goods, destruction, deception, getting away, providing security, ultra violence, chases, shooting made easy, Cracking skulls, flashy fighting, sneaky efforts, low effort rules, low effort rules, extra effort rules, cinematic combat rules. When things go wrong, medic, repairs captured, directing the action, campaign types, assistance roles in actions, 10 rules to use sparingly. That one might be interesting. Duty in action, enemies, after action, and making everybody useful. We may want to look at that up front, or reasonably up front. Let's see. So, an action movie is first and foremost a showcase for the hero's astonishing abilities. There may be calm before the storm, emotional interludes, and slice of life moments, but we're holding our breath for the stunt and pyrotechnics, for the exploits. Without high-speed car chases, fights of all descriptions, and races against the clock to disarm bombs, hack computers, crack safes, and so on, action movies would seem stupid. Often they are stupid, but excitement forgives a lot. Consequently, GURPS Action 2 exploit cuts to the thrills and ignores the inconvenient realities. It's a collection of simple rules for resolving classic action situations without worrying about minor details like human nature or physics. If it's possible on the silver screen, and especially on the blue screen, that's good enough. Players should be aware the exploits described here are tailored to heroes created using GURPS Action 1 heroes. While exploits is no means worthless on its own, it often involves assumptions and concepts from heroes. Think of it as a sequel. Since a major goal of exploits is to show how to use the PC's abilities, the important skills, advantages, and even disadvantages for each situation appear in boldface. So for the GM, exploits is a guide to setting up action scenes for challenging the heroes. Its rules aren't the official GURPS take on anything except over-the-top action. Feel free to use them in the serious police procedures or wilderness of mirror spy campaigns. But unless your cop can fire 2 guns while leaping through the air and spies can save the world and be back for tea time, you might find these rules extreme. All right, give us the extreme rules. Let's go ahead and let's take them. So this is written by Sean Punch. So was the other one. Okay, so here is basic abstract difficulty, which I think this could be applied in a lot of situations. I've heard a lot of people talk about basic abstract difficulty and using it not only for GURPS, but in other kinds of games. So this is the basic abstract difficulty. And it sounds like something that also could port over to a Dungeons and Dragons, like just dungeon scene. So basic abstract difficulty. A simple but effective way to challenge the heroes is to use skill penalties. And one of the things is that as the heroes get more powerful, especially in GURPS, you're supposed to be using a lot of skill penalties in GURPS. I noticed that in Dungeon Fantasy as well, when we were taking a look, or not when we were taking a look, but as I was reading through the starting adventure, there were a lot of opportunities for skill penalties. The characters could have very high skills on their own. You're like, gee, they can just cut through anything, except for the game master in that game is supposed to be really applying a lot of skill penalties. Think of reasons why this is not easy. Yes, when everything is easy, characters in Dungeon Fantasy, and it seems like here in action as well, are really supposed to shine. So if you want things to not go well, the game master really has to pile on reasons why this is not going well. So a simple but effective way to challenge the heroes is to use skill penalties. Many tasks in the basic set and exploits recommend a wide variety of penalties to cover less than ideal conditions, especially tough opposition, etc. Looking up and assessing these penalties can be time-consuming. Yes, that's the big negative, though, right? You kind of have to have those. That's an advantage to having something pre-written in GURPS. You're like, okay, so what is the situation while we're trying to fight on this rickety bridge and the wind is blowing and the bridge is also slippery because it just rained and it's got moss all over it. So how many different skill penalties do I need to stack on top for that? But that's what you have to do in order to challenge the heroes sometimes. However, when the team is poised to blow up the vault door or raid the villain's mansion, it's boring and frustrating for things to grind to a halt while the GM consults rules and tallies modifiers. Exactly. So As an alternative to detailed modifiers, the GM can set a single difficulty, the basic abstract difficulty, or BAD, that covers all aspects of a particular phase of the adventure. This is simply a penalty from 0 to -10 that replaces detailed situational modifiers, and would still let you just have the description, though, the verbal description about the fighting on the rickety bridge and all of that. Why is that? Because what kind of penalty do I get from that? Well, we get the basic abstract difficulty bad. The only other modifiers that apply are those the PCs bring into the picture: bonuses for equipment, penalties for disadvantages, etc. So this would not include anything that's on the PCs. So if the PCs, yes, are bringing positive or negative modifiers, which a skill in GURPS is not a modifier. The skill is just your basic rating you're trying to roll equal to or under. In other games, the skills themselves are bonuses. But for example, the heroes are infiltrating a secret base. The GM feels that should be tough, so he assigns a bad of -5. Rolls to climb walls, pick locks, disarm alarms, and so forth are all at -5, instead of taking detailed modifiers for things like security system quality and the compound being situated in icy wasteland. If the squad brings fine equipment that brings +2 skill, though, that modifier still applies. The GM can convert to detailed modifiers whenever he wants, such as for important special cases, random occurrences that aren't tied to the adventure, or events that would generally benefit from a dramatic pause. The goal of BAD is to estimate an adventure's challenge rating and save time when details matter less than flow, not to supplant the game's judgment, not GM's judgment. And that's a lot, I think. Save time when details matter less than flow, which is a lot of time in role-playing games in general, I think. And so even though GURPS is often on the more we didn't breathe and sip. I got my drink right here. But even though GURPS is more often, we talk about it being on the more simulationist side of things, there are rules for a lot of things in GURPS, and that's one of the reasons that I like it. And so here's it flat out saying that, hey, it's not wrong to play GURPS in a less simulationist way. Here's how to save time when details matter less than flow. Here's the rules you can use. Okay, let's breathe and sip. Let's take care of our mental health this morning. I need that. I got water this morning. Let's take 2 deep breaths, complete exhales, and then take a sip of our favorite beverage this morning. So here we go. There we go. Feeling better? I feel better. I need it. I'm still struggling over here to get things done. I got a lot to get done, and for some reason, I'm having trouble pushing through again. Having trouble moving the rocks. We're going to have to fix something about that. We're going to have to get the rocks moved. Okay. So how bad is it? The GM can pick whatever bad feels right. When rating how challenging specific opposition is, though, he might opt to calculate it as follows. Rate the adversary's basic point value as an enemy, basic 135, divide by 4 and drop fractions. For example, early in an adventure, the heroes are tracking down a corrupt detective. An ordinary cop is a -5 point enemy for a bad of -1. Is a -5 point enemy. So why is the enemy rated as a negative? It's because I was wondering, basic point value as enemy. I believe that's what that's saying, is that enemy, if your character has an enemy, the enemy is a disadvantage. We need to figure out an acronym, Sable says. We need to figure out an acronym for big rocks. We do. That would be fun. Oh, and I meant to get the Yeti the Yeti emoji going. I thought about that again yesterday, but it didn't happen. We need the Yeti emoji. We need an acronym. We need to get back on. I guess I'm going to need to get back on. I desperately need to get back on the productivity schedule. Now it's been for about a month and a half that I have really been really been lame over here, I felt like. So yes, we'll get back to that. We can all do it. Figure out who wants to do it together. We get a lot of people who are trying to get stuff done. Maybe it's difficult for you too. I'm thinking about just turning off the internet once the morning grind is over. But until the watch party this afternoon. But okay, so I was saying the reason that the enemy is a -5 is because having an enemy is a disadvantage in GURPS. So that's one of the things you can design your character. During character design, one of your disadvantages can be, I have an enemy. And then you design the enemy and figure out what's the point value of the enemy. And then depending on the point value of the enemy, that gives you a certain point value for disadvantages. You know, it's a 5-point disadvantage to have a certain type, a certain class or of bad guy who is your enemy. There's a, and so forth. The higher the point value of the enemy, the more points you get back for a disadvantage. That's what's going on here. So it's saying that an ordinary cop. So if an ordinary cop is your enemy, that's a -5-point advantage. That's -5-point disadvantage. So it gets you 5 points back during character creation. So it's using the point value of the enemy calculated if it were a disadvantage. Rate the adversary's basic point value as an enemy, divide by 4, and then drop fractions. So if you've got a -5-point enemy, that's a bad of -1. Rolls to gather evidence against him, search his home, and so forth are at -1, representing his connections and his attention to security. That's also pretty quick and easy. So it's divide by 4. You've got to calculate the point value of the enemy. But again, I like the abstraction here. Like, how does this guy have everything set up or nothing set up? Well, he's just a -5-point enemy, but he's a ordinary cop, a corrupt detective, so he is taking some precautions. So that's -1. So whenever you're trying to do something against him, I like that. Example 2. Later, the team has to take on the rotten cop's entire department. That's a -20-point enemy, so bad is -5. This affects rolls to evade security at the station, talk to a neutral NPC into helping out, and so on. It represents the fact there are lots of cops with good gear and significant social clout. From bad to worse. As the above example suggests, bad need not remain fixed for the entire adventure. Part of the action movie formula is that challenges mount as the plot unfolds. The closer the heroes get to the boss, the worse bad is. The PCs can often worsen bad without the bad guy's help. I have some thoughts about that as far as structure goes. Setting up a game structure. Turn that off. Because, yes, part of the action movie formula is that challenges mount as the plot unfolds. The closer the enemies get to the boss, the worse bad is. Now, 10 Candles also had that kind of structure, right? That's similar to setting up the Room DC from the index card game. Really? I'm going to have to look at index card RPG again for things like that. It probably will be before when we get to Theophany, we'll definitely do it. Because I want to evaluate index card RPG for Theophany. But a lot of it makes sense. But, okay, so what I was thinking, yes, this is the action movie formula. Challenges are getting worse as the plot unfolds. So you start off with the least bad, and then you're going to get much more bad as the action movie gets to its conclusion. 10 Candles has that because you're starting to lose your ability to act because you're losing those dice as you're getting toward the end, right? But the difference is this is how it's going to be more difficult to structure. It's more difficult because 10 Candles is making things get bad. Right? Things are getting bad as the action movie unfolds, as the horror movie unfolds, but that's going to end up with your deaths. The reason, and we accept that from the very beginning, that you're all going to end up dead. But the action movie formula doesn't mean that you're supposed to end up dead. You're supposed to conquer in a big way. Potentially. Now, there obviously needs to be some way for you to lose. I think, the game. If it's a game, there should be some way that you can lose. So there might be some way that you are not able to defeat the bad guy at the end. But if everything is getting worse and worse for you, there has to be something that the players are doing which is going to allow them to try to counter that. And that to me has to do with players' choice. That we want them to win because of players' choice. So the players would need to be getting resources that they're going to need to expend in a certain way in order to counteract how bad this is going to get. So there's an element, there seems to be an element to an action RPG structure that that 10 Candles doesn't need to do the horror structure, if that's making any sense. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, PH. Because otherwise, you're just, if you're making things, of course, they may still make the rolls and survive, the players. But the game needs to be, to me, about more than just rolling dice. Well, let's see if we can roll the dice as things get bad and happen to pull out of whatever it is that we're doing. It needs to be more than that. So there needs to be some, because also a part of the action movie formula is preparation too. We got to prepare to encounter the bad guy. So the PCs can also worsen bad without the bad guy's help. Exploits offers many rules for avoiding ill-advised violence, hiding corpses and evidence, and so forth. If the heroes ignore these and blast through the adventure, leaving a trail of blood and burning wrecks, the GM may dial up bad to reflect the authorities or the team's own bosses, making their life harder. However, bad doesn't always get worse. If the crew scores a coup, steals the files containing the names of the corrupt cops and the technical specs for the station's security system, the next part of the adventure might be easier. This is a fitting reward for a clever plan or a timely critical success. Okay, so that's some way to potentially gate this. If you have different scenes, okay, you're going to try to prepare. If you're successful in them, then it might not be as bad in the next scene, but otherwise it will be. Bad guys. The PCs will often meet their opponents in quick contests. Every +1 to their rival's skill is +1 to the bad guy's margin of success, which is the same effect of giving the heroes -1, just like incrementing bad by -1. Thus, when the squad faces henchmen, not mere mooks, directly, the GM may wish to increase the NPC's skill instead of applying bad to the hero's skill. At the GM's option, henchmen without character sheets have an effective skill of 10 plus the absolute value of bad. 11 at -1, 12 at -2, and so on. As all bad things, this is this is abstract. Actual skill, equipment quality, extra time, anything else that matters are all rolled into one handy number. The GM shouldn't use bad in combat or chases. The goal of bad is to abstract things like enemy planning, security systems, social connections, not battlefield or road conditions. Never mind the PC's tactical options. It's fine to use bad to rate henchmen's skills in one of those situations, however. Okay. Let's look at the basics. And then we'll probably go down to that end section. So, certain tasks kick off every action adventure or come up repeatedly no matter what the crew is doing. Not all of these will apply in every campaign, however. For instance, vigilantes only rarely bother with the job below, while only soldiers in SWAT, may use formations religiously. So let's see what that is. Getting the ball rolling. An action adventure begins with the GM simply giving the heroes a motivation to undertake a mission, such as orders for police or security officers charged with investigation or protection duty. Serendipity, lawmen witness a crime. Thieves get wind of something valuable to steal. Wrongs, enemies attack or cheat the heroes or their loved ones, making vengeance their primary motive. The job. The GM should always have at least one adventure ready. He doesn't have to expose it immediately, though, which is counter to like the 10 Candles philosophy. How do you do a game like this without having to prep? I'm also interested in that. How can you run a great adventure game over 2 to 3 hours? Fire Steel Mongoose says Fire bad. Oh, fire bad. That's -3 bad. We are now at -3 fire bad. How would you run a game like this without having to go through complicated planning as the GM? So finding a client, the heroes might have to work for it. Although a squad with an employer can skip the first two options below and move right on to the briefing. So finding a client, opportunity knocks, the briefing. Once the full-time squad has its orders or freelancers are are approached by the client, it's time for a debriefing. Digging. If the crew settles on a freelance job that wouldn't logically come with a briefing, they'll have to use gather intelligence or social engineering. Okay. Assembling kit. After the team has its goal, they will need to acquire gear they need to achieve it. Which, yes, in a lot of action movies, that's an important part of this. How do you get the gear that you're going to need? But like I said, I think the key there is to make sure that the players, if we're talking about assembling gear, we need to do that in a way that isn't micromanaging it. Because like the GURPS adventurers had everything down to a lighter and a leatherman and a lot of very small types of gear. And that's another thing that slows things down. So it might be time to import something like the Blades in the Dark. But on the other hand, getting all the gear, that montage scene for getting gear, sometimes it matters. So we need to abstract that as well. Sable Phoenix says, use an oracle like Mythic Rune or Ironsworn. Could be. I think you're talking about using an oracle for play without prep. I think you need I think some kind of oracle system is going to be good. I would like to look into that more. I've read a little bit about that. We should look more into that because I think a lot of those are often used. I see those often used in solo games. Now that's another thing that I've got over here to look at. I've got this here. Let me grab this book. This book, somebody recommended this book to me, and I got it. I'm going to bring up the auxiliary camera over here. Whoa. Go, auxiliary camera. You're going to see more painting stuff here. I'll remove that temporarily. This book right here, Flex Tail. This is a gigantic book. I know you can't really see it too much. That's right here. I got Crossbowman sitting right here. I finished the Crossbowman last night. Flex Tail Solo Adventurer's Toolkit. So I see these oracles. I'm bringing this up because I want to look at this because maybe this one is a good one. Rules and resources for solo RPG play. And I see that, but this is a gigantic book. That's beat, James says. That's neat. That's neat. Yeah, so I do want to look at this sometime, but look at this. This is a gigantic, here's for a scale. This book has got this 600 pages worth of stuff. And I think it's got oracles and stuff like that. But when I saw how huge this book was, I was like, gee, I don't have time to get into this right now. So we'll have to dive into this. But I feel like the oracles that are often used for solo play could also be used for without prepping an RPG, especially if you had some kind of structure. Now, see, the structure I think might be important because the oracle itself doesn't really know. Yeah, I know it's full color too. I don't know how good it. I mean, I don't know how good it is. Somebody recommended it to me on the stream, and I went, "Oh, especially if I was going to do some solo RPGing for on the stream on Friday nights or something like that." I think that's why this book came up, and so I was like, "Oh, well, that's maybe we should take a look at it then." And so I got it. And then I was like, oh my God, okay, this is This is a lot. There is a quick start. Play a solo game immediately. Okay, well, actually, maybe that's what we do. We start one day. Maybe on the morning grind, if we've got this quick start, figure out what this is trying to do. But the oracles don't understand structure. At least what I've read so far. They don't really. So maybe if you combined an oracle with some type of structure like what 10 Candles has. Mad says, getting gear can be an important reminder of the character. Getting gear can be an important reminder of what the characters can do, especially in a modern setting. Yes, gear, in that sense, gear is a lot about capabilities. Sable Phoenix says, well, that's the point of an oracle, is to run GMless. It generates the encounters and the story becomes emergent. I hope. Okay, I hope. So I like what Ironsworn is designed for, so that it can be solo, co-op, or GM'd. That's Ironsworn. We should look at that for that reason then. Where are my notes? I keep talking about cleaning up around here, and I keep failing. Ironsworn does this. Well, okay. Remind me of that. Where did I get it? I just got this, the solo RPG thing. I just got this off of RPG, Drive-Thru RPG. It says, this book aims to be the most complete, comprehensive, most innovative authority on solo tabletop role-playing game adventuring ever produced. All right, so that's on the list to look at. But like I said, that's a big book. This will be another one of the big deep dives. So yeah, so it can be solo, co-op, or GM'd. And see, I don't have a problem with it being co-op either. Like being able to do the game co-op if you had it really, if you had a good system for that. I mean, that would be fine too. That would be fine. And in fact, that may be the way that it goes. If you have a structure and you have a really good oracle, that maybe being able to run it co-op is something that's kind of emergent. So, okay, assembling kit. Heroes assemble kits. How are different ways to do that? Through the black market, through gadgeteering, through requisitions, through scrounging. Target and locations. Oh, let's look at, okay, bullets, beams, and batteries. The GM decides whether action heroes must worry about ammo, batteries, and so forth. Movies use these as dramatic devices. They never run out until the plot calls for it. And then even the best equipped commando can do, and even then, the best prepared commando can do nothing to prevent it. As a compromise, tally the cost of 5 full reloads, including speed loader or magazine cost where applicable for all the team's guns. Subtract this from the squad's budget at the start of the adventure. Likewise, add the weight of 5 reloads to each hero's encumbrance. Then ignore detailed ammo tracking until one of the following happens. The squad is cut off, whether by cops surrounding the bank, they're robbing, or enemy soldiers surrounding in the jungle. In that point, everybody has 5 reloads left and has to count bullets. Or the PC objects to the encumbrance and decides to ditch some ammo. From that point on, he has just the 0 to 4 reloads he didn't drop. A PC is captured. Then he has no weapons or ammo. This never applies to explosives, rockets, grenades, sticks of dynamite, etc., which should always be tracked. For batteries, use the rules in Action 1 Heroes. Power lasts for 1 day. After that, every $3 and 1 pound, $3 and 1 pound of spare cells carried by the team gives an extra day of power. After that, nothing that requires power will work except for the basics such as digital watches. The cell phone problem. One problem facing the GM of a Tech Level 8 action campaign is cheap, reliable, high-tech communicators, notably mobile phones. Plots that rely on isolation simply fail when the heroes can summon help or share clues at the push of a button. With clever planning, though, it's possible to work around this without straining willing suspension of disbelief. Track is cell. Cell phones are easily tracked. See bugs, beacons, and wires, page 12 to 13. Against high-tech bad guys, carrying one is a serious liability. Letting the players know this can often solve the problem. Blackout. No communicator works through thick walls, rolled tunnels, and basement blocks. Ordinary cell phones. Road tunnels and basements block ordinary cell phones. More than a thin layer of metal stops any radio, as does a deliberately shielded room. Heavy electrical equipment can effectively jam communications. But will it blend? Communications are fragile. Dropping, soaking, or bashing one will do it in, and the GM can always let the player decide whether it's his PC or his PC's cell phone that stops an enemy bullet. The system is down. Cell phones don't work without a network in extremely poor countries, 1,000 miles from civilization, etc. Even in areas with coverage, the traveler's phone may be of the wrong type. Neither affects satellite phones, but cellular and satellite services alike can experience accounting errors, especially if enemy black hackers are at work. Cell phones can be a problem. Tricks of the trade. Let's go down. Okay, make everybody useful. Other enemies. We were looking at, 10 rules to use sparingly. Let's see what those are. 10 rules to use sparingly in action games. Again, telling you what not to worry about in GURPS, because GURPS can be complicated. The system is down. I really hope that's a strong bad reference. Probably. I liked the will it blend reference, so it wouldn't surprise me. A few rules slow down gameplay, and GURPS does have a lot of them. Render the PCs less than heroic or simply clash with action realism. The GM should use these only when they are truly needed. This will make them suitably dramatic when they do come up. 10 is tactical combat. Keep distances and positions abstract in combat. GURPS has both its basic combat system and a basic combat system and a tactical combat system. But this says, keep distances and positions abstract in combat. I haven't ever seen GURPS specifically talk about like near and far systems. You know, this is near, this is nearby, close, nearby, and far. But I like those kinds of things. Keep distances and positions in abstract in combat. This makes it possible to fudge action scenes. Heroes can reach cover when necessary. Bad guys can escape when the plot requires it, etc. Save maps for situations like martial arts duels between heroes and scary henchmen. Steel Mongoose says, during my career in police negotiations, we went from being able to cut off communications during a barricade to having suspects live stream on the internet. Yeah, true. I was thinking not long ago, or somebody was talking about how fast I suppose technology moves, and was talking about, hey, there were people alive between this war and that war, and what were the differences between this war and that war. And I was thinking about that. I was thinking, people think so, because that was actually saying how fast tech moves, and I was like, well, gee, some people are saying that we're slowing down now, but here is Steel Mongoose's example here, where we're not. That you're actually live streaming. The suspects are live streaming from the internet inside. Regular contests. 9 regular contests. Rolling over and over until somebody fails gets boring. Save this technique for the climatic struggles where each contest the hero rolls, buys his associates time to rescue another hostage, plant explosives, etc. Fatigue. Extra effort costs fatigue, and poison or failure at some tasks can inflict fatigue damage, but docking FP for hiking, staying up late, and so on is needless bookkeeping. Ignore it except when the hero's endurance is what makes the scene dramatic. 7. In some ways, this is actually saying, with this fatigue right here, like, what are you supposed to be managing? I've talked about how I think there's probably some optimal level of resources that the players need to manage or should have to manage. And what those resources are can change depending on what scene it is or what they're doing. But in any particular scene, at any particular time, GURPS is kind of admitting this right here. Wait, hold on. We've got some needless bookkeeping that we could be doing. So ignore fatigue unless it happens to be a scene where fatigue is something that you really need to manage. Fright checks. These should occur rarely and only for nasty stuff like flayed corpses, never for the supernatural. Then make the penalties severe enough that only the cleaner with unfazable is likely to be functional, giving him the spotlight for a dramatic juncture. Tech level. Action assumes a mix of tech level 6 to 8 hardware seen in movies, and that hero skills are tailored to match. Only assess tech level penalties when the MacGuffin is a cutting edge gadget. Then give the heroes from -1 to -5 to operate it. Movement through study and time use. Oh, improvement. That's improvement through study and time use sheets. Filling out forms between adventurers is boring. Yeah, right. Well, we don't want to do that. If the heroes must learn new tricks between adventurers, just give the players some extra points to spend on pre-approved skills. I got to get rid of this book here. Control rating and legality. Action heroes don't worry about licenses and permits for gear. Save CR and LC, that's control rating and legality, for times when the players show little regard for life and the law and the campaign is drifting from heroic to horrific. Then use these rules to justify a crackdown on the PC's bosses or the authorities. 3. Cost of living and economics. The budget system in Action 1 for heroes replaces these rules. Such details add nothing to an action game. 2. Crippling injury. The heroes can maim foes, but don't return the favor. These few things reckon an action campaign more surely than a blind shooter or a one-legged infiltrator. I must not understand this reference. That from Strong Bad? So, crippling injury, magic, psionics, and other planes of existence. Action gaming is set in the real world. There's no place for the paranormal. If you must involve such things, warn your players ahead of time. So it seems like, though, if you had action and then you added in psionics, magic, and other planes of existence, you'd be running basically a supers game. There's probably other, I know there is GURPS supers. I don't have it because I was never really interested in playing games like that. But if you're trying to play Marvel superheroes and things like that, there's probably a lot of crossover between that and action. But then we'd be adding in a whole bunch of supernatural stuff. Make everybody useful. And that's also an important part of this. Everybody's got to shine. Now, once again, talking about 10 candles, 10 candles does it because everybody's classless. You don't have classes, so you don't have things that people necessarily can't choose to do. Let's go back to the index and see what else we need to check out. So campaign, we could look at campaign types. Ultra violence, though, we should probably take a look at that. So the basics. So we looked at the basics over here, tricks of the trade. Yeah, let's go to ultra violence. Let's see. Why not? Let's see what ultra violence has to say. What is this? Weapons of mass destruction. Security tools. Okay, ultra violence right here. Let's see. So far, we presented many ways to handle indirect and unopposed violence done by heroes to basic bad guys and vice versa, smashing doors, blowing them up. However, violent contests are the soul of action cinema. Every previous rule sets the scene for this, offering opportunities to bring on the throbbing soundtrack and bone-crunching sound effects. This sort of violence takes two main forms, chases and combat. So let's see how it does chases. I know that Savage Worlds is very proud of its chase system. So here is the GURPS action chase system. So a chase occurs when range band table. Okay. A chase occurs when heroes and bad guys meet and one side wants to leave, to fetch help, to not get killed, whatever. On level ground without cover, assume that the faster party flees or overtakes the slower one. The system that follows is for foot races across rooftops, car chases in dense traffic, etc., where speed doesn't guarantee victory. This should be most chases in an action campaign. Remember, bad never modifies rolls made in chases, although it can determine NPC skill. So these rules assume two parties, but see multi-party chases on page 34. The person or vehicle trying to flee is the quarry. The one chasing is the pursuer. So rounds. Chases take place in abstract rounds. A round is a time enough for both sides to try something cool. It has no specific duration because in action cinema, camera effects and editing bend time. Use these guidelines to measure chase time against outside time. Each round allows an ally or an enemy who isn't involved in the chase to perform one task that takes at most a minute. This is reminding me, we also looked at chase rules in, what was that? Sci-fi one, Sci-Fi Detectives. Oh, where's the book? I've had to move so much of my game stuff. Oh, this is it. Why can't I think of it? Somebody's probably got it in the chat already. Sable Phoenix says, I prefer Weapons of Math Destruction. It's Blade Runner. Blade Runner. That's what I was trying to think of. There were rules for chases in Blade Runner. And we had that box, the box set, and it also had cards. It had things like chase cards. That was allowing pursuers to take action. Andrew said that he thought that it was too much. But there were cards for the pursuers and the quarry, and they were taking actions to try to get away from each other. I have to take a look at that system again. And comparing chase systems is maybe something we should do at some time. But so this one right here, though, each round allows an ally or an enemy who isn't involved in the chase, to perform one action that takes at most a minute. For instance, a crew could lead guards on a 3-round chase while the infiltrator picks a lock, negotiates laser beams, and then finds the hidden safe. He couldn't crack the safe. That takes an hour. This allows more to happen during an action scene than the second-by-second combat rules than the basic set permits. So distance 2 is abstract in a chase. It uses 5 range bands: close, short, medium, long, and extreme. Use distances in yards. Range penalty, and then description. If the chase diverts the heroes from a time-critical task like disarming a bomb, or is necessary to attempt such a task, the bomb is hidden on a truck the team has to chase down. Assume that after the chase, the task suffers the generic haste penalty of -1D, no matter how long the chase runs. Okay, so with each round, follow this sequence. Quarry chooses a chase maneuver. See below. Okay, Pursuer chooses a chase maneuver. So that's very much like Blade Runner with the different maneuvers. I wonder if Blade Runner was influenced by this. Wouldn't surprise me. Pursuer resolves any attacks or skill rolls for his maneuver. Quarry resolves any attacks or skill rolls for his maneuver. If neither side wipes out badly or is too damaged to continue, roll a quick contest of chase rolls. Adjust the range band for the contest outcome and start the next round. So what are our chase maneuvers? Each side must choose one chase maneuver per round. The quarry picks and declares his maneuver, then the pursuer chooses his maneuver in response. In poor visibility, GM may have both decide blindly. So attack. Pursuer or quarry stop and make a careful ranged attack. Actions. Everyone on your side with a ranged weapon may roll an attack, adding his weapon AC. Chase rolls static maneuver. Embark, disembark, that is leave or enter a vehicle. I liked having these cards, like different kinds of maneuvers on cards. There were also obstacles in the Blade Runner chase system. I liked that because having the cards, because, well, I like having cards in general, but I liked having them because when the players are trying to choose something to make the chase dramatic, when there were things like obstacles happening or things they could do, they didn't have to create it, come up with something completely in the beginning from creativity. You've got those things now. Everybody choose a card. Stray says, this is how we get cop car pileups. It absolutely is. Emergency action, regain control after a wipeout. Attempt to force an enemy vehicle off the road. Hide, attempt to duck out of sight of a pursuer in a cluttered area. This is for the quarry. Dash through a door to hide next to it, make several tight turns in a maze or alleyway, etc. Mobility escape for quarry. Escape pursuit by going where your pursuer cannot. Evade a car by taking a boat out to sea or a motorbike down a narrow alley. Conditions, either a mismatched chase, for instance, air versus land vehicle, or suitable scenery or lucky break. A lucky break can enable a mobility escape even if your opponent is equally mobile. In a foot chase, you could board the subway and flee your pursuer. Mobility pursuit, cut your quarry by taking a route that he cannot. Fly over some buildings in a helicopter to thwart a motorcyclist. Move, this is the default maneuver. Move and attack. Attack your rival while continuing flight or pursuit. Everyone on your side with a ranged weapon may roll an attack, but only heroes with gunslinger add AC. That's the difference between attack and this. At close range, melee attacks are possible. If successfully grapples, the chase ends immediately. Chase rolls -2 for pedestrians or for a vehicle operator who is attacking while driving. So we were going to do something at the end here. The chase roll. So there's the chase roll. If neither side wipes out or is too damaged to continue, roll a quick contest of chase rolls. Adjust the range band for the contest outcome and start the next round. I guess we're going to get something about wiping out here in a moment, but chase rolls. So chase rolls here are -2 if you have taken that action. Okay, I see. So chase rolls, a modifier to your chase rolls and occasionally your rivals for this round, along with any special chase roll result. Some maneuvers are static. So some maneuvers are static. See static maneuvers, page 34 to 35. So like just the attack was static, but the move and attack was not. Ram, attempt to collide or run down your quarry. Reverse, turn sharply and come back at your pursuer. The quarry can do that. Stop dead, ending the chase. Stunt, do something risky to outmaneuver your rival. Jump a ramp, stop against traffic. You describe it. Stunt, escape. Okay, so after all subsidiary attacks, defenses, damage, and wipeouts are resolved, each party rolls against the skill governing his mode of travel. Bicycling, boating, driving, piloting, riding, running, skiing, submarine, swimming, etc. This roll is always DX based. Pedestrians without running can use DX. For vehicles, only the operator's skill matters. Opposing skills need not match. You can chase a bicycle with a helicopter or a speedboat by chasing alongside the canal. Chase maneuvers, driver injury, and distractions might modify chase rolls, but these modifiers nearly always apply. Complementary skills. You may roll against either area knowledge for the location of the chase to exploit shortcuts, scenery, etc., or urban survival if you're in a built-up area to predict dangers and traffic. You never have to roll, but if you do, you get the usual bonuses or penalties. Use the best skill of those aboard the vehicle. Vehicle operators, handling stat, higher purpose, deliver the package. Whenever you're trying to deliver goods or a person safely, this advantage gives +1. That's a higher purpose, deliver the package. That's an advantage that the characters can have. Speed bonus. Except during a static maneuver, each side gets a bonus based on top speed. Use the size column of the table on basic page 550 +2 for move plus a move 5 man. I believe that's probably maneuverable. So speed, that obviously makes sense that speed would help you. So chase rolls met in a quick contest. The chase rolls meet in a quick contest. The outcome sets the range band at the start of the next round. Victory by 0 to 4, no change. Victory by 5 to 9, winner may shift the band 1 step in either direction. Victory by 10 plus, winner may shift the band 2 steps either way. Thus, fast vehicles will quickly elude or overtake slower ones and pedestrians, but this isn't automatic. Skilled heroes can often trump faster but less canny rivals. If the quarry can shift range beyond extreme, he escapes, ending the chase. So stopping for any reason is a static maneuver. Attacks and embark are always static. Any maneuver is static if your rival succeeds at a mobility escape or stunt escape. But once he does, all of your future maneuvers are static too, regardless of what maneuver he takes, unless you change mobility or pull a stunt to keep up. So a static maneuver means you get no speed bonus on your chase roll. If your rival picks a non-static maneuver, he gets an extra shift no matter who wins the contest. That is, if he wins by 3, if he wins by 10 or more, 2 if he wins by 5 to 9. Otherwise, if you both perform static maneuvers, range doesn't change that round. Okay, makes sense. So if you stop to make your attack, you know that you're going to give them +1 range if you don't hit. If you don't hit and take them out, I guess. So what is a wipeout? Wipeouts are crashes, skids, trips, etc. There are 2 sorts. Close call. If the target of a force either side in a ram or target of a force. So a force, that's probably some type of actual maneuver. If the target of a force either side in a ram or someone who botches a reverse stunt or stunt escape fails by the relevant roll by his vehicle's stability rating. Oh, we got to bring in vehicle stability rating. Of course. This is GURPS. We couldn't get away from things like that completely, right? So our vehicles do have a vehicle stability rating. And if you fail by that or get a regular failure on foot, it's just a scare. He participates in the quick contest of chase rolls as usual this round. Next round, he must select emergency action or stop or suffer a wreck. His opponent will know this. Oh, so that's what's kind of like being shaken in Kings of War. Wreck. Failure by more than the stability rating of the above rolls. Critical failure spells disaster. So does not following a close call with an emergency action or stop. And so does incapacitating a vehicle operator with nobody to take over. If that happens, that pedestrian or vehicle performs an instant stop and is out of the chase. Worse, the participant collides with something, taking thrust damage for his or his strength, adding speed bonuses per dice. Anyone in a vehicle during a wreck suffers only 1d6 plus speed bonus as injury. So, what's this? An HMMWV? That's some kind of Humvee, I guess. With strength 72, thrust d8, and move 33, it takes 8d6 plus 56 damage, and those aboard lose 1d6 plus 7 HP, which that's pretty rough. Remember, in GURPS, you only have 10 HP. Standard humans only get 10. Now, these action heroes will have a bit more. But 1d6 plus 7 HP, that is a lot of damage. And your vehicle is taking 8d6 plus 56. That's a lot. We do have combat here. I am not going to be able to continue much beyond this, though. So, all right. I think I'm going to wrap this up right here. We'll go a bit shorter today. Remember, everybody, though, that we will be having the Cultist Watch Party. I will be back on camera this afternoon. I'll get my camera hooked back up and ready because I want to be live on screen with RM. So please come by, Cultist Watch Party. Right here. Please click the notify me, but it's 5 o'clock Central. I'm going to try to do some work. I'll get my camera hooked up, and then I will see everybody there. I will put that also out on the Discord server about 15 minutes before we go live. I would love to have you. Some lighthearted fun. If you enjoy mockumentary-style shows, you'll enjoy The Cultist. If you like Cthulhu and mockumentary-style shows, The Cultist would be perfect for you. So, all right. I look forward to seeing everybody then. Thank you so much for tolerating the no camera for the last couple of days. I'll get back to it. I'll get back on that. All right, everybody, let's go be productive. I'm feeling better after this. I always feel better after talking with you. So everybody have a fantastic day. Go be creative, be productive, and grind on. I'll see you this afternoon.